So good morning, everyone. So I had lunch with Luis last week, and I live about 10 minutes or so away from the office. Um, so I had the chance to have lunch with Luis the other day.
And I ask that everyone watching pay attention specifically to the weapons the right.
There we go. Sorry, Linda, I'll just mute you again. And an important subject came up, which was we have a lot of these calls. We need to make sure a couple of critical activities happen as a result. He touched on this in the Niken Now call, but I want to reiterate it a little bit more and re-emphasize what he said. One is we need to do more training. There is a difference between training and motivation, or training and psychology or philosophy or what have you. We need to get into the training and the mechanics more. The other thing that he referenced was we need to get some of the lower ranks, the silvers, the golds and what have you, hosting their own meetings. One of the challenges that we have is if we say, for example, I'm hosting this meeting, bring your prospects. If you do or don't, no pressure. Yeah, there is some degree of accountability, of course, and we can hold you accountable, say, hey, I'm going to work with you and hold you accountable. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. However, there is a difference, isn't there, if you host the meeting and it's supported by us versus we host the meeting and it's supported by you. If we host the meeting and it's supported by you and you don't get the people in the room, people don't show up, that you don't bring people from your team or what have you, if we fail to entertain, then that influences attendance at the next event or what have you. It needs to be more than that. So it's not about entertaining our teams. It's not about hosting events for our team. It's about really empowering our teams to be self-directed so that they host their events and we as leaders support it by attending and helping in the instruction that takes place there. What do you think on that? I want you to, you can unmute your lines, raise your hand, make a comment here. What are your thoughts on this? Because we've done things all sorts of different ways in Niken over the years, haven't we? But what are your thoughts on the responsibility of growing your business and getting more people in the room, being more greatly achieved as a consequence of you hosting the meeting versus Mike or I or Susan Carver or Julie Tara or what have you, or Gary Linder?
I think with some of the restrictions being lifted now, Ben, we have a greater opportunity of working with newer consultants, getting them involved, teaching them how to do demonstrations, being there to support them, to answer questions while they're learning and earning at the same time. So that we can work with them and help to build them so that they build confidence and they don't need us as upline for them to go ahead and generate a group of people or a meeting on their own. But we've been so stymied, so limited for so long. I know in Ontario it's been different than in the States, but we've just now had restrictions lifted. And we can now have 20 people in a group outside.
Excellent.
So, you know, you have to work within those parameters. But I have new downline that are planning on having some home meetings, you know, with 6 or 8 people, which they're allowed, and to work with them and build their confidence. So,
and of course it can be a combination, can't it? You could have 6 people in your room, in your living room, for example, but you could also have 10 people joining virtually. Zoom, and you can plug your laptop or your phone in to kind of screen share onto your television screen and you can have their faces on the big screen and they can participate virtually as well. So
Yes.
we can have a combination. That's something that's emerged out of COVID, is combining online and offline in the one event. So yeah, thank you, Barbara. We'll go to Pam and then we'll go to Paul Gabias.
Thank you, Ben. It is time to get back in person. My group is just not joining. One might be on this meeting, one might be on that meeting. And it's wonderful, I think, because they can do it with their schedule better than being in an in-home. But it doesn't beat that one-on-one, that touch, that mag boy on the back, to build the group. And then everybody gets to know each other, even though they're in the training. And I think it's great. I think what we've had has been magnificent. It's just disappointing that the attendance hasn't been where I felt it should be. Yeah. But that comes back to commitment.
Yeah.
Is the person committed? But when you have somebody that works retail, it's very hard for them to get on anything, particularly on Saturday. So it's a blending. We need both. Yeah. We need both in that funnel.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, good points, Pat. Good points. Paul, and then Kathleen. Paul?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no.
So can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So look, I have an event, a Zoom event every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific. And just give you some numbers, there are about 200 customers and I don't know, 15 consultants or something. And maybe, there are 3-4 people show up regularly. But that's my accountability, that if I don't have new people, coming into that event with all of the sorting through the numbers, then, I need to do more work. And I don't need the fear of an upline showing up and then the upline being disappointed because, it's not, that's totally generated by me. And so, I talking. So I just see a good barometer of what's, whether there's any activity, new activity, is how many new consultants are coming into this business every month in my business. And, if it's, the more I can make that, the more that I can get that number to increase, the better. And the numbers will sort themselves out. But in the end, it's up to me. And I guess that feeling has to be with every consultant at some point. It has to be internally generated.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, excellent. I appreciate that, Paul. Kathleen, what are your thoughts? Oh, you're muted. 1 second.
So the immediate thing that came up for me, Ben, was there's two things. One is the value of this event with you, because I'm already getting things from what Paul just said.
Yeah.
And, which you wouldn't get if you're just generating your own thing. Sure. So I see them as different. I get a lot of value from the community in you. And then there is me doing my own events or the way that I choose to do my business. Yeah. And I think I learn from other people in the way that they do their business. So I find this forum, and it's only for half an hour, very valuable.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think there is a combination effect, and I think that's what people are kind of coming to here is, getting together online here as a community, as a team, is helpful. We teach each other, we educate each other, we inspire each other, and there is a glue that comes in this space, isn't there? That binds us together, which is those relationships. But at the same time, we need to have our own offline events, which again, going to what we said before, can be a combination of offline and online. Yeah, we can have people in our local neighborhood that join us in our living rooms. And we can have people that are all, 1,000 miles away or in a different country, join us virtually. and we can have our leaders join us so that we don't have that worry. I think it was Paul that said this, of disappointing an upline that may have turned up for an event to support it, an upline leader, if the numbers aren't as big as we had originally anticipated. If they join in virtually because they're doing this with lots of different team members, that's kind of cool as well. And I've seen that work quite successfully when there's a team together and, hey, we're going to have, you know, our team leader join in from out of town and he's going to join us on Zoom, or she's going to join us on Zoom, or what have you. That creates a fun kind of kick to the event too. Yoko, you got your hand up. Is that, you want to say something?
I was just going to say that I am an example of my accountability of a new team of which, you know, has to build their own confidence and commitments. So I think everybody's on different stages, but I think the key is just the fact that you and Mike have maintained this community. And this community is in the same track, at least in many, many ways, which is key to any business, because we're all working on the same focus of products and business.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as consultants. So I think this is a key that needs to be there. And I agree. I mean, we have to then start doing more on our own. But like everyone has said, I agree with all the circumstances. It's not the right timing at the moment, but I understand the fact that we have to focus more going forward there.
Yeah. Well, this is the conclusion that I'm coming to that I think is important. It's all in the foundations of what Niken's about, in the key word, which is balance. Yeah. We need to strike a balance. If, you know, these team events that we have are essential that we have on a weekly basis. And, you know, what I try to do here on these Tuesday calls is take lessons that I'm learning from ABCs or one-on-ones where I'm coaching people throughout the week. And I go, there's more than you that needs to hear that. Yeah, that just seems to be a message that others would relate to and connect to. So I tend, often what I share on the Tuesday is from a coaching message or principle that I've had during the week with a one-on-one. And I've just thought that's a team message versus an individual one. And it expands out. Mike also on his Monday evening course, just some great principles that he teaches there. And throughout the week, we've got different segments that will address different parts of the business. So if you look at the Niken Connect schedule, you do find different calls that serve different purposes for different aspects of your business. If you want to have a product call, if you want to have an educational call, a master class, if you want to have an introduction to the business, you've got all of these different types of calls throughout the week, which is great. But if we're the only ones attending, and if we're only talking to ourselves, then we're maintaining our business, we're not growing our business. So there is something else that needs to happen. And that is where we pick up individually the responsibility of hosting our own events for prospects and for new people. And we can do that individually, and we can enlist the help and support of our upline leaders to make sure that we do that successfully. Yeah, that can be in person, and that can be virtual, and it can be a combination of the both. But I think we need to make sure that we integrate personal hosted events into the weekly or monthly flow and rhythm of our own collective businesses. Now, I didn't get to see who went first here. I think Dee and then Pam had their hands up. So let's go to you first, Dee, if you want to unmute.
Thank you, Ben. So yes, so this is interesting, and I'd like to hear more about what more training would look like, because from a hosting my own virtual event, I'm so terrorized by technology, like even sharing a screen. And every time I've tried to do it, it hasn't worked for me. So clearly I'm doing something wrong and need to learn how to do that successfully so that I'm not afraid to start that process. So I don't know if training part would enter into that, or if that would be something I'd need to do on my own. I do not have an active downline. They're basically wholesale customers and then regular customers. A live event in my home, I am not so hesitant to do that, but some people are vaccinated, some are not. And I'm finding that they're uncomfortable being with each other and, or with me or whatever. So that is entering in, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe could do a little one outside on the patio, which might make
socially distanced.
Yeah, make it more comfortable. But that just came to mind now. I've invited people ongoingly to different events, whether they're some of the weekly events or the larger ones that are virtual, without much success. So I'm not giving up. I'm not unwilling to learn, but that's been my reality. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is in the same.
I want to go to the other hands that are up. Then I want to come back to what you've just said, Dee, because I want to touch on a couple of points that you've shared there, if that's okay. So let's go to Pam, and we'll make Angelica the last raised hand, if that's all right, because I want to go back to Dee's point, and I do have a call to action too. So Pam and then Angelica.
Okay, well, I will say to Dee, even when you know how to screen share, when somebody else takes control, then it doesn't always work either. So Saturday was proof of that. I had it under control, but anyway, that's all right. Now, my point of all of this is what I like about these meetings, the Zoom ones, and we used to have way too many. I mean, I try to pick out the highlights and have a sheet that I would give my new people or even customers. Here, join us on some of these. And it was overwhelming to them at that. And I even cut it. But I think what we have, as you said, is a great balance. But what I like about continuing these is that they see the international, like Kathleen coming on. Okay, so they know it's not just what Pam says, that it is international. They actually see it and feel it. And that's, I think that's invaluable. I will say, as being on the master day and talking to Luis and Ruben, we're going to do that Thursday, we're kind of asking to try to refigure the Seiko Kai and the master day times, 2 hours, 4 hours, to look at that a little differently, maybe change it around a little bit. So that might be, something too, Ben. I know you'll be involved in that if that does change, but to take the time and shorten maybe Seiko Kai to an hour and Master Day to 2. But I know that Luis really is not in favor of that. But yep, I like to keep it up for that reason. They need to come into the group and see that we are an international family.
Yeah,
thank you.
I like that. And to that end, thank you, Kathleen, for joining from the UK. It's great to hear that English accent coming through. So excellent. And Angelica, another wonderful accent, is about to join us.
Hola, I speak in Spanish. You listen to me well because I have my everything is good. Okay, yeah. So I find that very interesting. What I hope I understand what you were saying. It's more like what I feel is that we all want to feel, like secure, like you, because you have experience. But for me, it's like I still feel like all brand new. And I was listening to the audio of the 21st Kiyosaki 21st Century Company. I don't know the title in English, but it was talking a lot about like leadership. And I think I really feel like, okay, I'm ready to be a leader. I'm ready to be the example, and I'm really ready to, because it's about that for me right now. And just the fact to be able to do it, but also feel supported for me is like, okay, when you are learning to walk and you hold your mom's or your dad's hand, And one day you are like, okay, I feel enough secure. So like, I know you're there. I know I will need you maybe to hold your hand again, but I also want to experience freedom.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, it is. It's that wonderful place that many of us, I think, are at of, if you can just be close by, I want to get that independence, but if I wobble, I want someone to grab onto to help me feel safe. Yeah, that's what we want. And that's, that's the benefit of the weekly meetings, isn't it? That we've got people on either side that we can hold on to and go, oh yeah, you got me, but we can keep going. I want to go back to Dee's point about, okay, I've tried, it hasn't always worked out, right? What do I do then, right? Okay, first of all, we don't need to always worry about technology. If that's an uncomfortable place, we can do it offline. You raise a valid point though, Dee, of, well, maybe some people don't like to be in person because of the current climate with the pandemic. And maybe there are solutions where people sit outside on the patio, socially distanced, and we provide some solutions there. If people are still uncomfortable with that, maybe there's a collaboration opportunity where you find another partner that is more comfortable hosting online, where you can bring your contacts and you say, do you want to buddy up? And maybe we buddy up together and we host a meeting together. You do this part, I do this part, we co-host. I'm not very good at the technical stuff, but maybe I can do the intro and I can MC. Yeah, but our goal is to bring our guests, and to build our business. So maybe buddying up is a good solution, because we don't need to worry at first glance at these meetings at having lots of numbers in the room. It's really all about getting started with this. Yeah. So I want to have an invitation for all of us. And I want us, we've got 5 minutes before the meeting closes. So I'm actually going to close my mouth so that the invitation is done and completed before we end the call. Okay. It's a simple invitation. I want us all to put a date in the diary. When am I going to host my next meeting? Now, if you're thinking there's things I need to learn first, there might be some things that scare me about putting that date in the diary. That's okay. Factor that in to the date. Maybe there's some lessons I need to learn. I need some coaching, or maybe I'm going to reach out to Ben or Mike or someone else and say, can you please train us on this so that I can get this aspect of hosting my meeting figured out so that I can host it with confidence, because my date is on this date for my event. Yeah. My goal as the leader here is to make sure that when you host your event, one, that you feel it's supported by us, but two, if you've got questions leading up to it, that we can provide the necessary training in between to help you feel confident that it's delivered well. Does that sound good? So that will give us wonderful focus leading up to these meetings. And it will give you a great feeling of support and a great feeling of accomplishment as a consequence. And if we have our meeting, and all great leaders have had it, these meetings where you're the only one in the room that shows up. Yeah. I've heard some of the best leaders in the business say, I've hosted a meeting, I've booked the hotel room, I've sent out the flyers, I've sent out all the invites, done all of that. And I've gone up there with my presentation and all ready to go, driven for miles. I'm the only one in the room. Yeah. And what do? They deliver the presentation to themselves and they practice it. Yeah. They say, well, while I'm here, I may as well make good use of my time. I'm going to rehearse delivering this presentation and get it down pat. And they practice and they go back. They turn it into a learning experience. So even if it ends up like that, we've got growth ahead of us. But I want these dates in. So I can see some dates coming in here as well, already coming in. Wonderful, wonderful. I want you to get your calendars out. Like I said, put the date in the diary. Schedule a commitment where you're going to have a meeting. Now you might go back, put the date in, and you might say, okay, what is it going to be for my customers? Is it going to be for my prospects, where I'm going to invite people to look at the business? Right now, maybe that doesn't matter. Get the date in the diary. get the date in the diary and say, on this date, I'm going to have a meeting. And then I'm going to define it after the call, what I'm going to do. Okay. But that meeting is going to happen on this day. Yeah. I want you to know when we put a date in the diary, something changes. Thank you, Barbara Richmond. August 11th. We've got September 17th. Mondays at 3 o'clock. I love it. 18th of August. These dates are coming in. I promise you, business results will change when we start hosting our own meetings and working towards being effective event hosts. Yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen. And again, as much as we can do on these weekly calls to support the efficacy of those events, we will do it. And if it gives you reason to contact us midweek and say, one-on-one, help me out with this, I'm struggling with this aspect. Or can you dial in, jump in on Zoom, add value to my event, show up, participate. We'll do all of that stuff to make sure that your meetings are enriched, rewarding, and a great experience for those that attend. Thank you all for coming along. I hope this has been helpful. I've loved the discussion. I've loved the discussion. And like I said, it looks like the conclusion that we've got from this is what we need is balance. We need to have these weekly calls. We love the connectivity, the community, the sense of belonging, the instruction, the guidance, the direction that we get. But at the same time, we've got to also host our own meetings too, and get our prospects and our customers together and have that experience, be it in person or virtual, or a combination of the both, whichever works for your audience. Customize it, personalize it, yeah? But find a way of making that work and bring people together. Do the both together, and I think we'll be flying. We'll be flying. And to Dee's point, if you've tried it and you've struggled, let's have a buddy system, yeah? And partner up with someone that you can fly under their wing and get a little bit of a lift as you partner with them. I think that always works well too. You can learn through observation, through participation, and through balancing strengths and weaknesses as you work together in that buddy system really well. So thank you all. Love that these dates are going into the calendar here. I can see them all in the chat. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Take care.
Thanks, Ben.
Take care. Bye.